Hi everyone, welcome back to Plum Mashable. So for today's video we're going to be doing a baby themed Memorydex card. So if you want to see how I made this one, then just keep watching. Alright, so we're going to be making a baby themed kind of Memorydex card today that's going to be a bit of a pop-up. So you sort of get the hang of it when I show you, so it's easier just to start. So I'm going to start off with a bit of 12 by 12 paper. This is probably my favourite collection ever from Kaisercraft. It's called Daydreamer and I just love it. I think it's so cute. But it really fits into the baby theme as well. So I'm going to play with this one. I'm going to grab this green stripy one. I'm going to cut this. Yeah, it does it every time. I want it to be those stripies on the inside. So I'm just going to cut off the top because that's sort of stopping it from being 12 by 12. I want it to be about 13 centimeters for the actual card. So cut that. Actually, I'm going to make it 13 and a half just to give it a little bit more. There we go. Put that bit in our, we'll come back to you later pile. And then I'm going to fold this in half somewhere along the way. Kind of get our card part. So I want to use the bottom. I want those little spotties. I think they're really cute. So I'm going to cut it, score it at about the A2 size, which is, actually no, I'm going to do a little bit. It's going to be 4 inches, which I'll work that out in centimeters in a second. But sometimes it's just easier to go with the inches on there. So 4 inches. 10 centimeters. Thank you, Ryan. So I'm going to fold that over, make sure it's straight, especially because we're using lines on the inside. The straighter you can make it, the better. And then just trim off the excess on the bottom. And then to make the actual Memorydex part of it, I'm going to punch through both sides because it's going to flip up. I'm just making that in the middle, but then I don't want the notches to be on this side. So what I'm going to do is cut off just a little bit where the notches are. Okay. So now you sort of see the stripies on the bottom, but you see the card will be a bit of a flip up kind of thing. So I'm going to decorate the front. We're going to use some ink for that, and then on the inside I'm actually going to put some pictures of our little bubba. So we've got a couple here. I'm only going to use 2. This one at the bottom didn't work out so well, but we've got 2 there that we can put in. So these were taken at 13 weeks, so they're about 5 weeks old now. But I wanted to have a card that had the baby on there, so that's sort of what this is going to be. So for that I'm going to grab in a little bundle, which is one of my favourite Lawn Fawn sets for making baby cards. But I'm also going to grab in some inks and some stencils, which is how we're going to kind of make the background for this. So the first thing I'm going to do is stick this down to my mat so it doesn't wander around. But I'm also going to use the sticks, kind of a double-edged sword, because it's also going to be holding down masking off, the bit on the bottom so that I don't get ink where I don't want ink. I'm just going to put a little bit of tape on the back just to hold it still. You can open that up and just mask off where I don't want there to be any ink. So as long as that covers up from there, it'll be fine. I'm actually going to come up just a little bit higher. Okay, so it'll hold it still while I'm inking, but also protect this bottom part. So I want to do a little hill at the bottom. Oh, there it is. A little hill at the bottom, which I'm going to do in green. And then I'm going to do some clouds on the top. I'm going to do the clouds first. So I'm just going to mask off where I want the hill to go. So about there. So get a little bit more tape. Stick that down. And then we'll pull in my cloudy stencil, and I'm going to use some yellow with this because I want to use different colours than normal. I would normally do blue for an outside scene like this, but I thought just for a change we're going to do something different. We're going to do some yellow. So I'm just going to line that up. I'm going to hold it down with some tape just so it doesn't wander along while I'm inking. And I've got in a couple of different colours here. So I've got Scattered Straw, which is the yellow I'm going to use for the sky. I'm just going to ink this up. I don't want to go too hard, I want this to be pretty light. Just come in. No, I said light and then that's the colour I get. I haven't inked on the back of Kaisercraft paper before, so I'm not quite sure exactly the colour saturation or how much it soaks in the ink, but we'll give it a shot. But just a light layer across the top. And we grab this, the clouds, wipe it off, spin it around, stick it down again, and just repeat the process until you get to the bottom where that other stencil is. To the bottom, and there's just this last little bit, just sort of colour over the top of that with no stencil. Alright, and then for the hill, I'm just going to move that up to mask off the bit we've already done. Okay. For this I'm going to use a different sort of green combo than normal. I'm going to use Shabby Shutters and Bundled Sage, which are both really pastel-y green colours. So use Shabby Shutters for most of it and then Bundled Sage just to add a little bit of contrast at the top. Alright, and then before we put all the inks away, I'm just going to add some texture to this with some splatters. So I'm actually going to do 3 different kinds of splatter. The first one's just going to be with water, so just a spritz. Second one's going to be with some Bundled Sage Distress Oxide. We'll do some little splatters. And then I'm going to add in a little bit of Peeled Paint Distress ink on top. So oxides and inks obviously look different. Oxides will always have a bit of a chalky finish, whereas the ink will always look a little bit more vibrant. So I'm going to sort of have the 2 different colours there to kind of make a bit of a difference. I'm just going to grab my tissue. We'll start off with the water, a couple of little spritzes, and just leave that for a second to oxidize. While that's doing that, I'll get my paintbrush and just mix up my mixes. Okay, so I haven't used water on the Kaisercraft paper before, but that hasn't quite given me the white that my normal cardboard does, but that's alright. I think it'll be fine still. So I'm just going to do my little tappings over the top, so starting off with the oxide, and then in an ideal world I wouldn't use peeled paint, I'd use Bundled Sage ink, but I don't have it. I actually don't own that one yet, so this is a little bit darker, so I'm just being a bit careful. I don't want it to be too overpowering, so just being gentle with that. There we go. So I'm going to clean this up, and then I'm going to unmask this, hit it with the heat tool just to kind of give it a bit of drying time, and then we're going to do the same thing with the top with Scattered Straw, Distress Oxide and Distress Ink. I actually have the 2 different colours there, so that'll work well. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and I'll be right back. Stripe at the bottom, that looks really cool. Whoops. Alright, so now we're going to get to cutting out our little images. So these are really small, and you can colour these obviously, but just because I can and just to do something different, I'm actually going to do these out of pattern paper. So this is the Perfectly Plaid paper pack from Fawn, and I'm just going to pick a couple of the colours for a couple of the stamps. I am still going to stamp with Memento Tuxedo Black ink, and that's just because I will add some Copic details to this afterwards, so I just don't want the ink to run. So I'm going to have the little blanket. And all I'm going to do is just stamp this in the corner and then cut it out. And because I have the dies, I'm going to use the dies. But if you didn't, these are really good ones to just be able to cut out by hand because they're not really all that complicated. The blanket, I'm going to do the long sleeve onesie, the short sleeved onesie, and the little hat. And I think I'll leave it at that. So I'm just going to pick some different colours here for the different clothes along the way. Doing the stamping, I'm also going to stamp out just on some plain white cardstock 2 of these little stakes in the ground. So this is going to make our clothesline. So I'm going to stamp them with some walnut stain ink. I'm also going to grab 3 of the little pegs, or 3 sets of the little pegs, also in the walnut stain. And then just 1 of the long strings. Now for the string, because you want it to match in your die, what I do is sort of throw it around on my glass mat for a minute and then pick it up on the block. So that way it's got its natural curve. That's where it's supposed to sit. So it'll make it that it'll actually fit in the die, because I've done this once or twice and the die doesn't fit around it because I've sort of tried to stick it down wrong. So when I put the die on that, it now should match up. So I'm going to go ahead and cut these all out with my die cutter, and I'll be right back. So I've cut out all of my little bits. So now we just get to put this together. So I didn't do a very good job of die cutting some of the little parts. They wiggled around in my die machine. So I'm just going to trim them using my scissors. So I just flatten them out so they haven't got too much dimension to them. And then I'm just going to kind of go around and try and give it a faux look. So it's still got a space around it, but it's just a lot less than it was. Just make sure the other one still looks even, which it does, so we're good there. Then I just need to work out how this is all going to stick together. And I think the easiest way to do it is to stick this part together so it's one. I'm going to throw things away. Stick these parts together so that it's one piece, and then it'll be easier to put onto the card. Just flattening that one as well. A little bit of glue just for now, just on the back of the bows. Keep this as straight as I can. Obviously I can manipulate it a little bit once we've got it card. So stick there like that, and then we can put the little bits of clothes on here. So you would have saw I also cut out some little coat hangers because I want the clothes to sit on these little hangers. I'm also going to just add a little bit of Copic colour just to the sleeves of some of these, just so that they look a little bit less flat. Sometimes paper piece things can just not quite pop off the page like coloured ones can, so I'm just adding just a little bit. Love these little coat hangers. And just to give these a little bit more something, I'm actually going to hang the coat hangers off the line. So to do that, you just need to kind of cut up here, and I'll get Ryan to come in and do a bit of a zoom for me. So you can see there's this little bit here, so I'm just using the scissors to sort of follow the curve up. You don't need to go all the way around, you just need to make that little incision there. Do the same thing with the other one. Don't drop it. Just follow the curve up. There you go. The little close on, so I just like to put the glue in the corner and then just sort of stick it onto the clothesline, onto the coat hanger. And I'm just going to put that under a block to dry while I do the other one. I'm not going to stick the string down yet though, I'm just going to stick the stakes because I still want to be able to hook those clothes onto this. So I'm just going to try and get it as in the middle as I possibly can. Go. And then I'll kind of hook this. It's a little bit complicated, so it looks a lot more difficult than it actually is. Oh look, it wasn't. Sometimes it can be difficult. And I'm just hooking the little coat hangers onto the washing line. Sometimes this takes a few tries, but it goes on reasonably easy once you've got it. Go. So you can see they're just sort of hanging on there for now. You can wiggle them along, space them out. So then I'm just moving the blanket and the hat on here as well, because I've got to kind of space this out so that it all fits on here. So I might move the onesie over a little bit so it kind of looks like it's blowing in the wind. And this is where we bring in those little coat hangers, which were very, 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 very small. You definitely need tweezers for this. I think I'm happy with them looking like that, so I'm going to put the blanket down first. I'm just going to flatten it out so it's not quite so raised, and that's just a result of coming through the die cut machine. So I'll stick that down so it looks like it's hanging on the line, and do the same thing for the hat now, and we'll put the pegs on now. I've got these teeny tiny little pegs, and they are teeny tiny, but they look really cute. So I'm just going to glue them down. I'm not going to worry about flattening them, mainly because it's too hard. Oh, that is so cute. I love using these. The only other thing I'm going to do, kind of tempted, there's these little birds. I'm kind of tempted to have them sort of fluttering around because it just sort of feels a bit empty around the outside, but I might come back to that. So then on the inside, I'm just going to rub off these little spots just so this doesn't stick anymore because I don't need it to. I love glue dots. This is where we're going to grab in the little pictures that I've got. So these are just photocopied because we didn't want to use the originals in here. Plus Ryan likes having them on his desk. So I'm just going to cut these out. I'm going to leave a little bit of a border around the outside so that they kind of still look like the pictures that we got. And I'm just doing this by eye. I'm not being particularly... That was a little bit in the wrong spot. That's right, I'll fix it. I'm not being particularly careful. just see a little bit of the spot from the top and I don't like it, so I'm just going to cut this one a little bit thinner. That's better. One on the top, one on the bottom. I'm just going to have them slightly off center and slightly cocked up. Actually, this one on the bottom I'm not, because I don't want it to be able to be seen from in there. So I'm just going to stick it down with glue tape. And then just to add a little bit more on the inside, I'm just going to grab my little Motex machine and grab the black. Gotta remember how to do this because I've only done it once or twice. Okay, so I'm just going to do, just need to switch my ones because I want to use numbers. So I'm just going to push this out. Okay. Just switch my discs. So I want to use the numbers. So I'm just going to make this say 13 weeks. Doing this wrong, but I don't care. I think that looks really cute. Just trimming off the excess. The cut's not the space, so I've got to work out where the space is, but we'll get there. I'm just taking the backing off. We'll stick this down on the bottom. And I'm just trying to think of a way. I might do a couple of those little birdies and just bring them in here, just so that there's a little bit of the front on the back. But I'm going to do it really, really fast because I don't want this video to go too much longer than it has to. So I'm just going to really quickly stamp out a couple of the birds and then colour them in, and then I'll be right back. So I've got two of the little birds I'm going to put on the front. So I just coloured them in using the same kind of colours I used to add darkness to the onesies and stuff. And I've got 3 more for the inside. I am going to add a sentiment on the front as well, which is going to be underneath here. But then we've got the little birds. Now before I do that, I just want to do due March 2021, sorry. Let's put little dots instead of the spaces. And my 2s didn't come out particularly well, but that's alright. I'm slowly learning how to use it. I love the look though. It just gives you this really cool retro look that I love. Okay, and I'm going to add a couple of the little birds around the place. And I also have some socks that I accidentally cut the last time I used this set. So if I ever cut things and don't use them, I have a tendency to hold on to them and then I can use them in my next project. So I've got some little yellow socks that I thought maybe the birds could carry. Alright, and then to finish it off, I'm just going to stamp a sentiment on the outside. So I'm just grabbing the stamp set again. It's this gorgeous one. I love the writing on it. It just says a little bundle. So I'm going to have a little bundle is on its way. I think that's what it says. He's coming. He's on the way. It was missing something. I knew it was, so now that we've got that in there. But there we go, there's my little Memorydex card. It took a little bit longer than I thought it would, but that's alright. still, I think I went too dark with the colours, which is kind of throwing it off a little bit. But I love that on the inside you've got the little pictures there, and if you wanted to, if you put it in the box, like if you just sort of had it sitting in here and someone didn't know that it opened up, you wouldn't know it did. But when you open it, there's just that gorgeous little surprise. There's enough room there to do a little bit of journaling if you wanted to, but I think I'm happy just having the photos speak for themselves a little bit. So I hope you enjoyed this one. I'm not going to do too many baby things because I don't really feel like bragging or going on that I'm pregnant, but if you do want to see some baby things, please let me know and I'll happily do them along the way. If you did enjoy this one, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to be subscribed to my channel, and also let me know if you want to see more Memorydex cards. Don't forget to be subscribed to my channel and follow me on all of my social medias for all my other updates as well. Just letting you know that my October live is coming up this Wednesday night at 8 PM Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time. So if you want to come hang out, I'd love to see you. Hope you have an awesome week and I'll catch you then. Sending lots of huggles. Bye!